So, let's talk about webhooks. They're this super powerful tool that, honestly, you've probably used 100 times without even realizing it. But what problem do they actually solve? And why are they so fundamental to the way the modern web works? Well, let's get into it.
To really appreciate why webhooks are such a game changer, we first need to rewind a bit and look at the old, kind of clumsy way of doing things. It's a method called polling.
Okay, to make this super clear, let's start with an analogy we can all get behind. Picture this. You are waiting for a really important package to be delivered.
Now, what do? Well, if you use the polling method, it's basically like you calling the delivery company every 5 minutes, asking, is it here yet? How about now? Is it here now? It's annoying, it's inefficient, and you're just tying up their phone line for no reason. The webhook method, though, that's like getting one single, clean notification on your phone that says your package has arrived. So much better, right?
And that's exactly what polling is in the software world. It's just one application constantly hammering another server with requests over and over again, asking, got anything new for me yet?
And the cost of all this asking, it's actually pretty huge. It's crazy inefficient and slow, because 99% of the time the answer is just, nope, nothing new. It just burns through CPU cycles and network bandwidth. And for us developers, it can absolutely demolish your API rate limits. This is a real pain, especially for long-running stuff like waiting for a payment to clear or a big software deployment to finish.
So, you get it. Polling is bad. There has to be a better, smarter way. And of course, there is. That way is webhooks.
Now here's the cool part. Webhooks completely flip the script. Instead of your application constantly pulling for new data, the service pushes the information to you in real time at the exact moment something important actually happens. It's that perfect, efficient notification model we were just talking about.
So at its very core, a webhook is just an automated message that gets sent from one app to another when a specific event happens. That's it. And because it kind of reverses the normal flow of information, you'll sometimes hear tech folks call them a reverse API or a user-defined HTTP callback.
Let's put it this way. With a traditional REST API, your app is the one doing all the work, constantly asking the server, hey, did anything change? But with a webhook, it's push-based. The server takes charge. It's the one that tells your app, hey, something important just changed. Here's the info you need.
But there is a little twist here, and this is the part that often trips up beginners. See, normally your app is just the client, right? It's the one asking for things. But to receive a webhook, your application has to also act like a server. Why? Well, think about it. To get that incoming notification, you have to give the other service a public address, a URL, that's always on and listening for that message.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why. Now let's pop the hood and see how this all actually works.
Any webhook really just boils down to 3 key ingredients. First, you've got the event. This is the specific trigger, like a successful payment processing or a new commit being pushed to GitHub. Second is the webhook URL. That's the public address you set up that's just sitting there listening for the message. And finally, you have the payload. That's the good stuff, the actual data about the event, and it's almost always sent in a nice, clean JSON format.
Let's walk through a super common example, a payment with Stripe. So, step 1, registration. You go into your Stripe dashboard, you paste in your server's URL, and you tell it which events you care about. Step 2, the event trigger. A customer buys something from your site and their payment goes through. Boom. Step 3, the post request. Instantly, Stripe packages up all the data about that sale into a JSON payload and fires it off to your URL. And finally, step 4, action. Your server catches that data, updates the order status in your database to paid, and automatically sends out a confirmation email to the customer. All automated, all in real time. Beautiful.
Now, that all sounds pretty great, right? But like with any technology, there are some really important real-world things you need to think about before you just start using them everywhere.
And the very first question that should pop into your head is, okay, but is it secure? I mean, you're literally opening up a public URL to the entire internet. And the answer is, it's only as secure as you make it. You absolutely must, and I can't stress this enough, verify that every single request that hits your URL is authentic. You can't just trust any random data that shows up. The standard way to do this is by checking a digital signature or a shared secret that the service provides, which proves the request is legit and hasn't been faked by a bad actor.
All right, so security is handled, but what happens if things go wrong during delivery? I mean, networks aren't perfect. Can you trust that every message will arrive exactly when and how you expect it to?
So this is really important to remember. Webhooks are reliable, but they don't give you ironclad guarantees. First off, the arrival order is not guaranteed. You might get an order shipped notification before you get the order created one. It happens. You'll need to use the timestamps inside the payload to put things back in the right order. And second, the same event might get sent to you more than once, especially if the sending service has a hiccup and thinks its first attempt failed.
And this brings us to a really important, kind of fancy-sounding word, impotency. All it means is making sure your system can handle the same request multiple times without causing a problem. You really don't want to charge a customer twice, right? The solution is simple. Every event has a unique ID, and you just have to check that ID to make sure you haven't already processed that exact message before.
All right, with those considerations in mind, let's take a look at where you'll actually see webhooks being used out there in the wild.
They are absolutely perfect for long-running tasks, like processing a video. You upload a huge file, you go do something else, and the service just sends you a webhook when it's done encoding. They're also fantastic for server-to-server data sync, like keeping inventory or order statuses updated between two systems. And of course, they are the absolute backbone of countless third-party integrations, like automatically triggering a new build and deployment every time someone pushes code to GitHub.
But look, webhooks are not a silver bullet. They aren't the right tool for every single job. For instance, if you need an immediate answer, a classic request and response, a normal API call is way better. If you absolutely need events to be processed in a strict order without building extra logic yourself, they might not be the best fit. And if you need constant, real-time, two-way communication, then you should really be looking at something like WebSockets instead.
And that really brings us to the key takeaway, which is summed up perfectly by one of our sources. If you understand webhooks, you understand one of the most important patterns in modern backend systems. They truly are that fundamental. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What inefficient, polling-based process, either in your work or even your daily life, could you fix with a simple, real-time notification with a webhook?